and it's all about the love between us. And I'm not willing to see that what I seek is inside me, that I'm actually the God that I'm looking outside in Krishna, for example. So you can fall into all kind of problems like this. In Raja Yoga, for example, you get powers, you get control, you can feel you are enlightened when you are still very far from being enlightened in a stand of spiritual intelligence, spiritual wisdom that you developed. Only because you have such a strong control over your body and mind, you can go into all these mystical states, spiritual states, and actually you are far, far, far on your evolution or your intelligence, on your spiritual intelligence, very far from being realized, and you can even have a lot of powers, but you are, and actually just with more ego, and then you are actually going very far from the path. And in Jnana Yoga, you can also fall into a problem. For example, a lot of people, when you go to Tiruvana, I was just there, things are enlightened just because they have this, they had this opening to the divine in some experience, like Satori kind of experience, and then they think they're enlightened, just go out and they smoke and they do shitty things, they talk about stock market all the day and stuff like that, but they think they're really enlightened because they have some deep experience once, or even they have it a few times or something like that, because there is nothing to do, it's just to realize that everything is divine all the time and there is no doer. So actually the complete path is not just a realization, it's also that you want to live this realization. The truth is, now I'll give you a bit of a interesting philosophical idea that come actually from more the Jewish tradition, or in theosophy is very strong. Whoever learned theosophy, it's very basic. So they say that there are two ways of devil or the ego. It can come as full materialism, which there is no point. Life is just about chemical accident, and it's all about running after as much carrots of evolution that give me good feeling and run away from as much sticks of evolution that give me bad feeling, and there is nothing else. But there is also something called Luciferianism, which is like, Lucifer is like, it's all just spirit. So if it's all just spirit, just being the spirit all the time, there is no point from the material world. A little bit in Advaita, you have this idea of tear the veil of Maya and just drop, everything is just illusion, so just drop this illusion and be in the self. But I think the more mature philosophy is the one that says that the real point is to have spirit within matter. So that means that you don't just say, I don't care about I don't care that I have I'm totally emotional mess, and I don't care that I have a really shitty body full of poisons, because I realize God. Everything is important because realization is just the beginning, but then I want to be a tool for God and act in the world in a way which bring God to this planet as well, to this earth. Finding God on earth, that's basically the ultimate idea, manifesting God also on earth. And that's kind of a higher aspiration. So each of these paths have its own drawback. And now I'll give you another take that has to be on yoga, which is actually very modern, as a person who is a therapist and a person who yoga teacher and stuff like this, but do very focus on therapy as well. I can tell you that complete spiritual path, from my idea, I take it now, I'm phrasing what Ken Wilber say, and I really believe what he say. So he says there are 3 dimensions to it. The first dimension is peak experiences, which yoga usually aim to, getting into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Bhava Samadhi, all these states of high consciousness. You know, if you read Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the most known yoga book text, it starts with the goal of yoga is Samadhi, basically. What is Samadhi? The stopping of all mental movement. So the yogi is absorbed basically within the ultimate consciousness kind of thing and disappear there in a way. It's not really, I'm saying it in a very, very superficial, simplified way, but that's what it starts as. So I say peak experience is one aspect of true spirituality. And yoga try to bring you into peak experience. Every yoga system really, when you take it to the deep, not westernized watered down one, but the real one, try to bring you into Nirvikalpa Samadhi or something like that. Then there is spiritual level. What is spiritual level? It's like on the scale between being total narcissistic asshole into being a bodhisattva and full angel which just want to bring love and wisdom to this world. There is a lot of steps, and how much am I progressing on this scale? And sometimes you see people who claim to be great yogis, and sometimes I knew teachers that had strong peak experience powers, and people in strong peak experiences, they were actually pretty much of assholes. They didn't work on that aspect, and that's actually not good. I can't explain why it's so bad, but it's pretty bad to be like this. And there is this hedonistic philosophy of yogis, like Luciferian philosophy. Can be an asshole, you can be a shit, die into samadhi, and that's all, you'll be enlightened. That's actually, I think it's demonic idea. I don't think it's true, but some people believe in that, I have to tell you. I know people who think that way. Who in some ways, as yogis, I kind of respect them as practitioners. So beyond that, the third level of it is called shadow work, which we a little bit talked about shadow. It's not just how well I'm going on the path of being a better person and how much I can go into deep experiences. It's also how much parts of me are a better person, how much parts of me are going to deep spiritual states. Because, for example, if I can't, because what modern psychology found, you cannot sublime, transform, enlighten part on you that you are not willing to see that exist in you. If I have 20% of my personality is totally suppressed and repressed and denied, I can't do anything with it. And then I become a person which is 80% in space level, space age, really enlightened, really refined, and 20% horribly kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing. Part is really, really refined and good, the other part is a monster. And actually, the more depth the good side gets, the more depth the shadow side gets. So I become really like a weird monster, and that's why you have all these gurus. Like, I don't know, it's the Beatles. One of the things that the Beatles wrote a song, it's called Sexy Sadie, that George Harrison was really Billy Wilder, the other person who can learn to be so spiritual, he's a guru, Maharishi Yogi, is trying to get into the pants of every wife of every Beatle, obsessively all the time, for example. He couldn't understand how a person with all of them, God do so much effort just to, knock women, and make sex with women all the time, But you have so many gurus like this, like the list is so long, if I start, I will never finish. And actually, it's not that these people are not genuine. It's not that people didn't do a lot of spiritual practice. They did not correct spiritual practice, which means they make 30% of them be like space age, but then usually they neglect maybe the sexual part, maybe the anger part. They were supposed to be loving all the time, and then when you deny a part of you, that part will come uncontrollably when you least expect it. So if you suppress your desire, it will come in the wrong way in the wrong time. Suppress your rage, it will come in the wrong way in the wrong time, and so on. So this is a whole practice. And the first guru that actually gave attention to it was Osho. That, I think, was his great contribution, and this was his genius. Because he said, I'm not claiming to be an angel. And they say he had 97 Rolls Royces. Why did a person like this need 97 Rolls Royces? It was already about a declaration. Rolls Royces represent for India the whole British colonization thing, because that was the car the official used, and so on. And why did he need 97 Rolls Royces? It was just like making a joke. Like, I'm not afraid to be in contact with very greedy colonialists, whatever side that, there's a part that every Indian knows, I'm not that, So that's kind of an idea. And he actually developed really cool shadow work, which connects spirituality and basically integrating all these parts that we don't like to see in ourselves. Because when you're willing to meet a part, which is part of a shadow, then you can actually heal it and connect it to the divine, to the whole, and that's actually great. Actually, there is now, I read a very good article about what is called shamanic death. Like you can say every spiritual practice has its way to reach enlightenment. So the shaman, for example, he learned to identify with, because some Indian gurus say, shamans, they have no idea, they're really low, they're just in the occult. They're not mystics, they just care for powers and stuff like this. Actually, it's not true. In some shamanic traditions, there is a lot of this thing of mysticism, getting into the ultimate truth of reality. But the way a shaman do it, he learned to identify with the cat, and then with the snake, and then to identify with the crystal, and learn to identify with the, entities in the astral world. And slowly, his identification with his personality, his normal personality, become more and more, less and less strong, structured, and there is a point this whole thing collapses, and you understand, I'm that, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm everything. And that's a form of enlightenment, that's a Shakti kind of enlightenment, I'm everything. And that's actually a deep thing, because all the way our ego builds itself is through shadow and light. I'm a policeman, so I'm not a criminal. I'm a good person, so I put aside the bad part of me, and I'm always in fight, and that's what defines my ego all the time. I exist because I'm a good person, and I always fight my bad part of personality, and the more I fight, I feel I more exist. but it's just an illusion, just a movie. So once you're willing to see all your parts in all your ways, that I'm the bad person, the good person, there is this moment I'm Shakti. I'm not a person, I'm not personality anymore. I go to the transpersonal level, and then everything is open to me. I get to feel that I'm the cosmos. But the yogic enlightenment go one step beyond. It's also saying I'm nothing. If I'm everything, I'm also nothing. I'm the pure potential, which is beyond and before even everything was manifested. So I'm neither this and neither this and neither this and neither. My essence is neither of them. That's when you study in Buddhist emptiness, it's very big in this. And then I understand I'm nothing because I'm being everything, also being nothing. I'm not one thing that was rendered. I'm not just a body. I'm not just an expression. I'm a pure potential. And a lot of people sometimes say I'm one. The goal of I don't know, mystical tradition is to be one with everything. And actually it's not true. Usually you aim much beyond it in a way, because oneness and separation are also just expression of pure energy and pure consciousness. So you want to go all the way into identify with pure energy and pure consciousness, which is unlimited, which is much beyond personality, and much beyond any state. Oneness is a state. Separation is a state. It's perception of reality, and you aim beyond it as well. So this is more or less the idea of what is correct spiritual path, and yoga is supposed to answer all these things. The true yoga, when you come to a guru, is supposed to answer all these things. And now I want to talk about a little bit what is esoteric yoga, what does make yoga esoteric, and why it's such a strong life coaching tool in a way. So esoteric yoga is yoga that have all the real information on our how to activate the chakras and how to access all these mind states that exist in the universe. And when we talk about yoga in this aspect, yoga doesn't claim we have only physical body. It claims we have actually 5 bodies or 7 bodies. We'll not really go why, but what they call 5 bodies, there is the physical body, then there is the pranic body, the energy field, the life force. Then is the astral body, which is the emotional body, it's called. Then there is the mental body, which is the thought, the body of thought. And then there is something called causal body. Causal body is where karma is stored. It's the body of where the really, really tiny, if you want, seeds, samkaras. It's not even samkaras, it's something even more refined than that. It's like the slide. Every time we do something, we create another slide in this body that store, in a way, the imprints. And then the slide is running. There is a delay, but if I'm killing now somebody, it creates seeds, which is very negative. I'm helping somebody create a seed which is positive. And then these seeds are going to ripen, and the place they are stored is called the Ananda Maya Kosha, the body of bliss. It is very subtle. It's not a personal body anymore. It's body of the universe in a way, but it's where the karma is stored. And it has even a more subtle aspect to it, which is like the wisdom body in a way. What is the wisdom body? Now I'm giving you a bit of a cross-cultural thing. I take Kabbalah, it's explained very well, but I can show it appears also in yoga text. The reason I create negative karma is because I didn't have yet penetrating wisdom on a specific aspect of reality. If, for example, I didn't really have this deep wisdom that, I don't know, it doesn't matter how much power I will have, I will not be able to buy love. I might feel that by controlling people or buying people, I will get the love, for example. And then I can manipulate and control people and have power over people and cutting people wings and make people dependent on me for a whole lifetime. And I will always be hungry for what I really need, which is love that comes from a connection, which comes only from freedom. Because what I'm basically doing, I'm taking people freedom to love me. I force them to love me. And that can take lifetime sometimes to have understanding of this lesson. And in this way, I'm creating a lot of negative karma. Till I will understand deeply that lesson, I will have a lot of negative karma because I always try to control people who I love, for example. So there is this level of wisdom which is even above karma, in a way, that caused me to generate negative karma or caused me to generate good karma, depends if I already learned this lesson. And this is why sometimes I did a lifetime of really shitty thing, but I really learned my lesson and I have really repent on what I did, and that karma is kind of alleviate. That's helped me from living really shitty karma that sometimes created, because once I'm not creating at all this karma anymore, I'm kind of, those seeds that I plant that can be shitty cannot rise, cannot surface anymore. So that's the 5 bodies. And actually, yoga want to activate all these bodies. So for example, when I'm doing an asana, let's say I'm going to the guru the way it used to be in the past. A person come to the guru, he was a beginner, let's say. So he come to the guru and the guru say, listen, I want to develop my confidence, but I also want to develop a more grounding because I'm kind of a floating person. And I also want to harmonize my second chakra, my sexual energy, because I'm getting crazy with being horny all the time. And I also want to meditate better. So the guru will look at him and he say, okay. So he give him specific sadhana, specific practice for, grounding himself, which will be an asana which work on connecting to the earth and grounding energy. He give him another exercise that maybe it'll be polarized, which means it'll activate, you have 2 sides, so it will on the second chakra, so it kind of balance the second chakra, and maybe you learn how to refine the second chakra, bring energy which is very light to the second chakra instead of heavy kind of tamasic energy. Tamasic means heavy and very physical energy in a way, and not very pure, very selfish energy sometimes. And then we'll give him a practice that has to do with willpower, which work on the third chakra and the fire, because that has to do with the third chakra and the fire confidence. And then we'll teach him maybe something on Ajna chakra, on the third eye, which has to do with building concentration. So you give him, and actually when you do, let's say you decide that you want to have much better concentration, so you get a practice. And let's say you do it for a week, you'll start feeling in your practice, you feel better concentration. But if you do it for 3 weeks, so they say, you will not just have better concentration when you do the practice, but you have it also when you're outside. Now I gave somebody give me a riddle and I can focus for 5 minutes on the thing. Before I couldn't, because I worked for 3 weeks on this, Tvarataka, some concentration technique. And then after I do it for 6 months, they say, then it really becomes part of me. So every real tapas means sadhana or serious practice, is leading. It has to do at least 6 months usually, because only then it becomes really part of me. I will not digress from it usually after I stop doing this practice. And not only that, people think when you do an asana, it's about moving from a lot of asanas fast. Actually, this is horribly not in alignment with traditional yoga. Traditional yoga says that, let's say I'm taking an asana, Paschimotto asana, I'm taking a specific asana that have some benefit of making me peaceful and grounded and charge me and work on the mula, on first chakra, let's say. If I do it up to 7 minutes, it will mostly affect me on the physical level, and it have very little, not so much effect. But if I'm doing over 7 minutes, something will shift and you go much more deeper into this mentality of peace, mentality of grounding, mentality of depth. Then if I do it over, doesn't matter, I can give you the numbers, but it doesn't matter, over like 16 minutes, let's say, over 31 minutes, they have these laws in Hatha Yoga, in all kind of text. And then it gets much, much deeper. I can become the Muladhara of the cosmos. I'm not only just me, it's like the whole universe, first chakra is expressed to me. Something much, much more profound. Then I have access to as much energy I have. That leads to see this, for example. There was a yogi in the 19th century who you see his picture over 100 years. You can see it. I can tell you the name, but it doesn't matter. You can see his picture in the court of this king, and in the court, and apparently he lived for like over 150 years. So some people, some person say it was an English person who met that person. He said, "How do you do it? How do you live so much? I see this picture of you from whatever, or drawing whatever with this king, and then with that king, you must be 150." And then he admitted to him, "I'm doing specific asana like this 1 hour and a half every day." Because when you do this so much, you don't need to waste almost of your own ojas on your own life force, and then you can live much longer. So yogis have this kind of siddhis. That's the practice that people do, but you have to do it quite a long time. And then when you do it beyond, I don't know, whatever, in Shiva Samhita, some text, it's really, if you do it beyond 3 hours or something, 3 hours, 40 minutes actually specifically, then you get the full benefit of the asana, which usually, they say, if you read the text, like science fiction almost. I don't know, one can cause you to be able to levitate, another causes you to reach cosmic consciousness. Each one has really weird and very powerful effects. Some asanas we all do like 5 for 2 minutes, and we think it's just an exercise. So that's kind of an idea. So there is no, people go and I do, I don't know, Bikram yoga, second sequence, or I'm doing, I don't know, Ashtanga yoga level. I'm so advanced. I do Ashtanga 5. It's so hard. I have to be a Najakom, I have to be a whatever athlete to do that, right? And I'm so awakened. I'm so enlightened. I can do it. You're just very good gymnastic in the best case. I mean, I'm talking. I'm not criticizing anybody. It have value, but most people who claim to be very big yogis, from a standpoint of real yogis, they will just good gymnastic and usually also good cell people. And knowing a few of these people, I can tell you that, I mean, I'm not judging. For example, Iyengar, he said, my body is my art, and asana for me is my expression, gift to the divine. Even if you take something very simple, and without esoteric knowledge, but you do it with all your heart, and you go so deep into it, you get the divine, because the divine is in everything. But then you could reach enlightenment by, like in Zen, by, I don't know, painting, calligraphy, or by, because there's some paths that actually take the most simple activity, and they go so deep into it that they become mid-god there, like tea ceremony in Japan. The Japanese are very good in this. So he took it like yoga as tea ceremony. He becomes so careful and deep in doing physical movement that he got into the divine, access to the divine. But yoga try to make life faster for you. It's like kind of a way to accelerate your evolution, but having very, very deep understanding of how your structure is. And so you not need to be a perfect master of tea or something, because that's very hard actually. It's harder than doing yoga the right way, actually. So this is more or less what I want to say. If you have questions or things you want to clarify, it's really good time.
Could you repeat please the 5 bodies?
Okay.
With pranic body.
So there is the pranic body.
Yeah.
And actually it's a good point, because then I explain how yoga really, more about yoga. So the physical body is a physical body, and you want it to be flexible, you want it to be strong, you want to feel comfortable in the body. For example, the definition of asana, of yoga position by Vivekananda, which was not a hatha yogi, he was a Gyani mostly, was that asana or yoga meant that you feel comfortable in one sitting position. So you not be disturbed by the body when you meditate. But obviously Hatha Yoga will not think so. Hatha Yoga sees itself as a way for enlightenment by manipulating your body, but with consciousness. And we'll explain in a second. Then the other level is the pranic body, is the energy field around us. And that have a lot to do with our health and vitality. A person, for example, we have like, that's also in Qigong, for example, in martial arts. A person who have very strong pranic energy, for example, he have an injury in the leg, let's say he break his leg, he will heal really, really fast, after 2 days sometimes. Or you can see how they do this Shaolin monks. They can focus huge amount of prana in the head, and you hit the head with a hammer, the hammer break. Or with a spear, you put a spear like this. I know a person who can do that personally. Who can put a sword on his neck and the sword bend. It's not magic, it's not like a David Copperfield stuff, it's actually real. You can focus so much prana in this area that it's like a steel here. Or I can see, I did martial arts for many years, a person who can break, 12 bricks. It has a technique in it. It's not only energy, but it's also about this pranic accumulation. And if you don't believe me, I can show you tricks like this. I can do some tricks like this as well.
What is pranic?
Pranic is sadeh biomagnetic. It's like biomagnetic field who surround our body. And you can manipulate it, and through that you can have a lot of physical effects, like you are healthier, you can heal your body faster, you can kill some people, you can heal some people. When you do Reiki, it's also working in this pranic body. In martial art, you use it to kill people, but you can do a lot of things with it when you know how to manipulate it. Then the third body is called the astral body, and that one, each body called kosha, and you have the names correlated to them. So that's the body of emotions. And for example, you can see, in Italy, an Italian opera singer, she has this huge body of emotion, and you can go into a field, you become dramatic. And some people are very much cold fish, so they don't have much of the body of emotion. And that body, each body has its own intelligence. So some people, the body is very developed, and they can have a kind of emotional intelligence is very powerful. In yoga, you want to create specifically the emotions that lead to the divine, this feeling of aspiration, this feeling of longing to the divine, this feeling of falling in love with the divine. There's a lot of holy emotions. It's not just to become a drama queen, it's because you want to be a drama queen of God. You want to search like holy mystic like Rumi, Kabir, all these bhakti yogis. They are very concerned on this emotional body, because through it you can reach enlightenment. Actually, how to say it in a right way. Each chakra has all these bodies basically, or each chakra is like has all the aspects of the bodies. You have a physical aspect of the chakra, you have a pranic body of the chakra, you have an astral body of the chakra, mental body of the chakra, and so on. And so from each chakra you reach God. If you reach the fifth body, the Anandamaya Kosha, the body of, it's already the body of the divine in you, you already had mystical experience. So the mental body is the body of beliefs, ideas, thinking, all of this. And then the last Anandamaya Kosha, it's the body of karma and of wisdom, the wisdom body, the bliss body. It's a body, if you want Satchit Ananda, it's the body of knowing, the body of wisdom, the body of bliss, and the body of being.
How do you call it?
Being. Word in Sanskrit, Anandamaya Kosha. That's the last one. Ananda means bliss, and Kosha is body. And Kosha actually, okay, I don't want to vary too much. So you can reach actually enlightenment in a way through each chakra. You can have this person who is going so deeply into first chakra, because you can think sometimes enlightenment is bringing all your consciousness and energy into crown chakra, because there it's the chakra of enlightenment. But if you go very, very, very deeply in each chakra, like the samurais or the Zen monk, use the third chakra as a path, and they went so deeply through the bodies, they went into the subtle level of power, of fire, and they got to find God. They find God as fire. A belly dancer, the mystical Devadasis, they were these temple dancers in India. They had this special, very seductive dance, and they were like holy prostitutes kind of thing. But they went so strongly into this feminine, sexual, second chakra energy that they found God as love, God as sexuality, God as bliss in a way, and so on. So through each chakra you can go, but more spiritual paths today, there are paths that actually, like if you go to do Vipassana, it's definitely a Ajna chakra path. It's all about insight, concentration, stuff like this. If you go, it depends on the path you go. Advaita is also, all these philosophical, serious spiritual paths today are usually using the high chakras rather than the low chakras. And one of the reasons is that most, in our very impure time, the lower chakras are so tinted with all kind of negative emotions and negative things. It's very hard to work through them, because the collective, we are connected. Our collective consciousness is somehow connected. So let's say a woman wants to be, a temple dancer, and through the second chakra, or a man, doesn't matter, second chakra reach into this deep, deep, deep depth of the divine as dance, or as sensuality, or as sexuality. And that's kind of a tantric thing. But in Tantra they do this thing, it's very popular now actually in some ways, but actually it's very hard, because then you connect to the collective consciousness of wrong sexuality, all the men who masturbate all day, and all these things, and you are kind of in the same frequency, the same level of frequency, so you kind of in contact with a lot of impure energies, and that make it harder. And as I said in another workshop, if you put here a Ferrari, or I don't know what, or best, most beautiful dresses, or whatever, or plastic surgery, they'd be not here, but in general, million people stand in line. If you put here who want to learn compassion, who want to have pure philosophical wisdom about, the metaphysic of Advaita, 5 people will come, maybe. So if I'm practicing through the high chakras to reach enlightenment, I will have less impurities connected with me, because nobody is doing it, basically, in some ways. So